the whole idea of marrying the wrong person and marriage being such a mystery. If I had imagined when you sit down with these 12 or 14 couples in any given session, you've got people who are trying to build on the sort of the islands of strength for their marriage. They want to strive. They don't want just a surviving marriage. They want a thriving marriage. And then you got folks that are going, man, I married the wrong person, and this is crazy. Where do you even begin with them on those fronts? And why don't you field that one for me?
Well, I'm pretty sure I've never even met a married couple that has not at least contemplated divorce. Everybody thinks at some point in their marriage that they have married the wrong person.
It's on. It's on.
That they've married the wrong person, or they're just like, how could I have been so blind? Yeah. So I start with the fact that our marriage probably survived from the beginning because I was just stubborn and prideful. We got married when we were fresh, or not married.
Hey, listen,
started
this
dating.
is her time. You in a minute, okay?
Started dating when we were freshmen in high school and got married at the wise, mature age of 18. And it was not, I was not even pregnant, but I could have been. So I was convinced that Tim was going to be my one and only. So even though he was a high school dropout, a druggie, destined to be an alcoholic, every parent's pride and joy for their Catholic sweet daughter, nobody thought we'd make it. So I determined from the beginning that we were not going to be a divorce statistic, that I was going to prove everybody wrong.
And so for you, just sort of out of your hard-headedness, you said divorce is never going to be an option. And the other story behind this, I wish we had more time to unpack how this actually happened, but about 9 years into your relationship together, then all of a sudden, the spiritual side of things kicked up. You both embraced Christ, surrendered yourself to Christ. It transformed both of you individually, thereby transforming your marriage. But then that whole mantra, divorce is not an option, really became solidified in your life with Jesus. That's not a popular mantra for people, especially in our culture. There's more of a, divorce is kind of an escape hatch if things don't turn out like I kind of hope they would. How do you, Tim, how do you even parcel that with your block?
Well, when you want me to talk to you?
Yeah.
When couples buy into the idea that divorce really is not an option, they'll do whatever it takes to work through anything that comes at them. And it doesn't matter if you've been divorced in the past. We're talking about from this day forward, make divorce to not be an option for you. And if there's any physical abuse or anything like that, you need to get help. We're not suggesting that you stay through any kind of trauma that way. But the spirit of it is to take divorce off the table, take it out of your vocabulary, and make it so that divorce really isn't an option in your marriage.
And we were talking about this earlier, how couples, all of a sudden, when they resolve that that's going to be their pursuit, things like creativity, long-suffering, patience, all of those begin to come into play because they force themselves to think this, we have to figure this out. One of the things or you guys are always talking principles in your block, and I know there's probably 10 or 12 of these things, but give us one thing that you've noticed really seems to resonate with your couples and that maybe you could share with folks this morning.
So the given is divorce is not an option, because if divorce is an option, thriving in your marriage isn't. So the number one thing that I would say is intentionality. We hear a lot about that around Watershed, but being intentional with some of the things in your marriage. And one question we ask couples is this: what can we do today to ensure that 10 years from now our marriage will be thriving?
And that has breathed all kinds of interesting discussions in your blog. Give me 2 examples of some things that couples have shared with you that have been a result of that very question.
Well, and part of the one block is about community, about listening to what other people say. And so one couple said that they implement a time limit for their fights or intense discussions, whatever you guys want to call it. But be sensitive to your spouse's prime time. Like, this couple, for example, said 30 minutes is the longest he can stay engaged in a confrontation, in a fight, in a discussion. And so they set that limit that says we'll go at it hard for 30 minutes, but then we're done. And if we need to pick it up again, we'll do it the next day or the day after. We'll schedule a time to get it done. Find out what the tolerance is. Is it 15 minutes? Is it 30 minutes? Is it 45 minutes? In fact, this couple won't start a fight after 9:30 at night so that they can be kissed and made up and in bed by 10 or 10:15.
Somebody actually went, oh.
Yeah, there's probably a couple. Then another thing is get a vision for your marriage. And if you have kids, get a vision for your family. A long time ago, Ann and I sat down with all of our kids. We had, as Matt said, 6 of them. They were all smaller. I think Brad was like 14 or 15. He's 30 now. And 32. And 3. And... so we sat down and we wrote personal vision statements for all of us. I mean, we kind of worked through it so everybody had their own personal vision statement. Then we did one for the family. And the one for the family we put up on the refrigerator so that every time we went to the refrigerator we'd see it. And so I got to see it over and over and over and over and over again. And anyways, what's really interesting is to this day, even though we still don't have that up on our refrigerator because we kind of changed the way we decorate the house. But anyways, we don't have a bunch of stuff on the front of our refrigerator. With kids, you always do. So anyways, to this day, we still live that expression from our vision statement, as well as our adult children that have grown up and got married and started their own families. That same expression of that family vision is lived out in their lives. So it's pretty cool.
So you're creating a legacy at one level through that. So, Ann, you've 36 years, 10 years from now, it'll be 46 years. What are you guys as a couple doing right now so that you can ensure your marriage is thriving? I know you've done amazing up to this point, but what are you doing now for the next 10?
Don't tell them everything.
Well, 9 years into our marriage, when I finally allowed Jesus to be a part of my life, I was reading my Bible one day and came across this scripture in Philippians. And it says, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of the other. When I read that, I thought, that is what I want my life to be like. I am determined to live like that. I taught that to my kids, and that's just what I wanted for our family. Well, it took Tim a few years to figure that out.
Slow learner.
Once he started believing that and living it, it just changed our entire marriage. But I would say, like, even if only one person does it, it still works because you're still pleasing God to do that, and you still feel better doing that. But it's really nice when both people do it.
And the point was that the selfishness aspect is combated through that. You're focusing more on being selfless, which really is a catalyst. In this verse, you were telling me, is a catalyst for another principle that you guys talk about pretty frequently called the 100-100 principle. Unpack that a little bit for me.
A lot of couples think that marriage is a 50-50 proposition. So you bring half, I'll bring half, and whatever's left, you can have half, and I'll have the other half. And we think that marriage is a 100-100 proposition. It's really about being all in. It's about giving everything that you have, regardless of what the other person does. So to use kind of a poker analogy, when you're playing poker, you look at your hand and you say, hey, this is good enough, and you move all of your chips to the middle of the table. And it doesn't matter what the other person or the people on the other side of the table have. And in a sense, that's what we're doing, is we're putting everything into the middle and betting everything on this relationship. And what will happen is response will happen. But it's really about being radically selfless. And we don't think that you can be this brand of radically selfless without following the example of the ultimate selflessness that's modeled through Jesus.
Can you just see how passionate these guys are about their marriage?